Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. I tried something a little new in the beginning of my video. I'm actually working out some kinks and stuff and adding some new things. So I'm excited that it is Monday. You are talking to Dr. C, Coach Sharon, whatever you call me. I know some have been with me for a while. Today is a little somber day. It's a lot going on in our country and in our world. And so I can't even act like I'm just so excited to see y'all today. Of course, I wanted to see you guys today, and that's why I'm here. I work on keeping my commitment. However, it's just a lot going on in the world. And so I'm trying to stay abreast of everything that's happening that affects you and I. And so I wanted to kind of come and have some conversation about that tonight. I do not plan on being on 2 and 3 hours. Of course, you guys know I time myself because, again, it is 7 o'clock and people still have stuff to do. And we know that Monday Night Football comes on now. So I know I only can have your attention, but for so much time. So if you're here, let me know where you're from. Let me know that you're here. I'm definitely going to be talking about Justice Ginsburg today and what that means for you and I. Because I think a lot of people think that things are so far removed from us that they don't realize that it really truly does affect the everyday person. So again, write a comment. Let me know where you're here. Let me know where you're seeing this stream at. I am stuck on my glasses, y'all. I am streaming on a couple of platforms today. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. I am on a couple of Facebook pages. If you're not following me, please find me anywhere at Coach Sharon. That's SHERRON. You can see that all the bottom in the stream. Hi, Alabama. Hi, Maryland. But again, you can find me anywhere. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Periscope. I'm on YouTube, Facebook. And I upload currently my videos to IGTV. So again, I'm not streaming live right now from IGTV. However, that is coming soon. Hi, Brooklyn. But I will be pretty shortly. I'm working some things out. So again, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Hi, cousin. Hi, North Carolina. I just wanted to get right in because, as you guys know, I am grateful to be an influencer in this day and in this time, and specifically talking about my expertise and some of the things that are just on my mind that I want to talk about that I believe affects us in this day and time. And of course, we're so worried about all of these day-to-day things that's happening that we really don't see big picture things. And so I wanted to kind of bring that to your attention, definitely from an HR perspective, because everybody who has a job deals with HR. Everyone who's an entrepreneur who has employees deals with HR. So I believe that this HR is an entire universal issue, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, whether you work for someone or not, that it's an overall issue. So I wanted to jump right in regards to Justice Ginsburg. We know that she fought a good fight. The woman had cancer about 4 times. And she died on Friday. And of course, I was devastated because not only myself, but I know a lot of intercessors and prayer warriors, hey, Tracy, have been praying for her because we understood and knew exactly what she meant to the Supreme Court. So I wanted to tell you that now, since she's not there, what that can possibly mean for you and I. Because of course people are just like, oh, now they're looking for another judge and doesn't really mean anything. There's a couple of things and there's a couple of reasons why, specifically that the Republican Party would like to sit another conservative judge on the courts. As you guys know, in the last couple of weeks or so, we've heard things like there's no such thing as systemic racism. There's no such thing as all of these other things that's happening, with the police, and the police are not really killing Black men and women, and all of these things that we've heard from the other side that you and I or anyone who lives in these communities know that's absolutely not true, because of course that's our experience and no one can tell us that our experience isn't happening. So with that, they would like to sit a conservative judge onto the Supreme Court. Now, my opinion is it's going to happen. It is going to happen because let's be for real. If anybody knows anything about strategy and leadership, you know The Republican Party now is in the best position possible to get what they've been strategizing for the last 3, almost 4 years, which is to sit conservative judges on these benches, whether it's appellate, local, whatever. They've been wanting to get these judges. Why? Because if you can get conservative judges, which rules the judicial system, which we all know most of the people that are incarcerated are Black and brown at higher rates. So we're incarcerated more at higher rates. We're going to now put more conservative judges. They've already been placed in these courts who don't understand and know our experience. These are the people that are now going to be sentencing our people, which have been happening, but now even more so at a different level. So we know that the Supreme Court, again, if you haven't taken a civics class or anything like that, I remember the commercial when I used to watch Schoolhouse Rock, I am a bill, yes, I'm only a bill. And they used to sing how bills get approved through Congress and through the Senate and things of that nature. Go back, watch the video. You can get a briefing of exactly what happens. So right now, with possibility of putting a conservative judge onto the Supreme Court, first of all, the court would then completely be tipped into the conservative favor. So there's a couple of things that as employees, you need to be aware of once this judge is seated, because again, the only person that's going to stop this judge from being seated is God himself, because Mitch McConnell has made it very clear. He's not waiting until no election. He's not waiting until January. He may wait when they're in the lame duck season or whatever, where they're supposed to be off to actually have hearings. But best believe by January 20th, there's going to be another conservative judge on the Supreme Court. So what does that mean for you? Well, first and foremost, we know affirmative action. Again, affirmative action law basically has employers to have diversity in hiring, making sure that they're not having disparities and hiring Black and brown people versus, white people, things of that nature. However, if you remember a year or two back, I don't know if you heard, but there was questions about affirmative action being, and I don't want to use the word racist because that's not it, like a prejudice against white people. So like now people with affirmative action or the affirmative action law basically prohibits white people from getting the jobs and the things that they may be qualified for. So what does that mean if we get a conservative Supreme Court judge? Guess what? Affirmative action is going to be coming back to the Supreme Court floor. And best believe there will probably be no such thing as affirmative action going forward. What does that mean for you? That means that now when you go apply for jobs, if you're working for someone else, and it's not just working for someone else, because affirmative action, of course, has things in, with getting loans and things of that nature for your businesses. If that is extinct and that is no longer, then what is going to happen to Black and brown people who are being discriminated against because of the color of their skin, or being discriminated against because they're giving standardized tests that clearly Black and brown people don't have any exposure to? So that's just one of the things. Then the next thing, of course, we know they're talking about the Roe versus Wade. That is basically abortion rights. That is a big one for Republicans because the Republicans claim to be pro-life. But I don't know how you can blame to be pro-life with just a baby, but you're not pro-life when Black and brown people are getting killed on TV or shot in their beds, or I just don't understand it, or the death penalty. So if you're a pro-life affiliation and this is what you believe, I don't understand how you can believe in killing some and saving others. So it's like, save the babies in the womb, but don't save those that are on death row that you're trying to give the needle to. Save the ones that's in the womb, but don't save Black men who are getting kneed in their neck on television. I mean, I don't understand the difference. If you're pro-life, that means you're pro-life. That means that even if you're a gun toting and you carrying guns and stuff, pro-life means that you're not going around killing people. But we got 17-year-olds on the street thinking that they need to have vigilante justice and going around killing people. But these are just my opinions, just things I see for people who are pro-life. Then Brown versus the Board of Education. That is the law that went to the Supreme Court. in regards to this integration of schools. So, schools were segregated just in the 60s. Schools were segregated. Blacks went here, whites went here. This law, this case, then basically said that that could no longer be, that people should be able to go to school and dwell together. So, of course, now with that, and if you've heard over the last month or so, it's, oh, they're coming into the suburbs and they're destroying the suburbs. Who's they? Who's they? So we're already dealing with, and that's a housing thing. But again, if Black and brown people move to the suburbs, then where are they going to school? In the suburbs. So again, because again, there's a lot of people out there that's saying there's no importance in voting. This doesn't happen. We don't have to do anything. They're going to do what they want to do anywhere and everything. There's importance in voting, because guess what? If we would have voted, and I say we, because I'm not just talking about Black and brown people, I'm talking about people in general, because a lot of people did not vote. Then the Senate majority leader, Mitch McConnell, would not be in so much power. And he's in a lot of power because we don't vote. So those are just a few. Now, the most crucial one that's coming up is the ACA, which is the Affordable Health Care Act. Everybody call it Obamacare, things of that nature. We all know people have issues with healthcare. Even people who are employed have healthcare, and their healthcare is not even really covering what it needs to cover. So now this ACA, they already had started stripping things, the mandates and things in relation to ACA. But if you remember, John McCain knocked down the bill to get rid of it totally. So basically it's saying that I can have health care because, Congress and Senate have health care all the days of their lives. That's why they live so long. But you can't have health care. You can't get Medicaid. It's a lot of people who can't get Medicaid or anything. You got to be dirt stinking poor. You can't even make $5 or they're not going to give you Medicaid. And then on top of that, now they're talking about taking health care that was created to cover Americans who didn't have health care to now take that from them as well. So I'm telling you now, ACA is probably gone. So now what does that mean for employers and people who don't? Because again, there's a lot of people, their employers charge too much money for health insurance. And then that's why they go with the Obamacare, because it's cheaper for them to pay out of their pocket. A lot of these health insurances through employers have high deductibles and high co-insurance rates. Therefore, people who only make $12 an hour can't afford to get sick. These are some of the things that are going to happen and that are going to come back up in the next year, whether Donald Trump is president or not, because they plan on making sure that a conservative judge is sitting in that seat in not too many more days. So that's why it's important. We're just all over the place like, oh, she died. Oh, that's sad. And people are just thinking about Roe versus Wade. They're just thinking about abortion and things of that nature. It is more to this than that. And we're already living in a world now that clearly, I would say in the Obama years, I guess we was hiding it very well. Racists was hiding it very well. Like, yes, there were death threats towards them and things of that nature, but it was not as blatant as it is now. And of course, we could say it's Trump's fault, but it's not his fault. He only has allowed what has been under our nose the entire time to be exposed. If you really think that one man has that much power over all of this, then you have to be crazy, seriously. Then also, too, I started looking at court cases because, again, employment cases go all the way to the Supreme Court, depending on what it is. There was a court case last year sometime in regards to an employee who was fired just because he was gay or transgender, whatever one he was, I'm not too sure. I know there is a difference. However, he was fired just because of that. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court found that the employer was in contempt. They could not just terminate someone because that person was gay or transgender. This is employers now. This is an employment thing. So what am I saying to you? That was just last year when Justice Ginsburg was on that same court and heard that case. What do you think is going to happen now that that's going to be a conservative judge? It's all pretty much going to be conservative judges. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Because again, and again, we know, I believe what I believe. I believe in God. I believe in the Bible. I believe the Bible is right. I believe in all of these things. However, I'm not the law. I believe in the Bible. So I'm not the law. I believe what I believe. However, as this goes into effect, well, whoever this judge is going to be, they're going to be basing laws on what they believe. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you to get ready. So if you are gay, if you identify as gay or transgender and they decide to overturn this case, then guess what? When you go to apply for a job and they think that you're gay or they think that you're transgender, they can say, we're not hiring you because you're gay, and say it just like that. Or you can come to the job and they find out you had a gay weekend and fire you because you're gay. Again, these are my opinions, but I'm telling you what to look out for, because a lot of times we think voting and what's happening in this country does not affect us on the ground, when it really does. It trickles down. So I want you to be mindful and aware of these things that are happening. Can we do anything about Justice Ginsburg? I don't know. If you live in the states where they're saying that Republican senators may flip or decide not to support this move, I suggest you contact your senator. You see exactly what's happening. You see exactly what's going on. You request and you beg them to not vote. But I'm going to be honest, I don't really think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be 2, maybe 3 Republican senators that's going to say, no, we should wait until another president is elected. But the rest of them, because if it was me, I wouldn't wait either. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't wait either. So I understand strategically why the Republicans are doing what they're doing. It doesn't mean that it's morally right. But the one thing about the Republican Party is they always have a strategy. They deal with morals later. They go in with strategy and they deal with morals later. So what am I saying to you? Because there are a lot of people who still think that it's not important to vote. They still think that what is happening in DC is not going to affect you in some way. These are just some of the laws that I jotted down. Let's not even get to Medicaid, welfare, all of these other things. And yes, there's other nationalities that are on public assistance and things of that nature. But let's be honest. Our community is already suffering. We're already at a disadvantage. We already don't get equal pay when we do have a job. That's another thing. I'm sure we know Justice Ginsburg wanted all women, regardless of race, to have equal rights. We still don't get equal pay. And now it's a possibility. I don't care if it's a woman sitting up there. All women don't care about women. There are a lot of women who only care about themselves. You know a few of them, I'm sure, because I know a few. That because you're a woman doesn't necessarily mean that you're for women's rights, that you're advocating for us, because we all know that's not necessarily true. So then what are we going to do? What are we going to do if there's someone else on that court who now has our lives in their hands concerning our paychecks and our businesses? Because all of these special programs for Black and brown people, women's business and things of that nature, how long do you think those things are going to stay around when the judicial system, the court system, is going to be ran specifically by Republicans? Because again, like I said, they've done their homework and they've done a great job at it. So what are we going to do? We're just going to sit around and buy Jordans and things all day and Yeezys. What are we going to do? And these are some of the things. That's why I said today it wasn't a I'm so glad to see you thing. It's just that I'm sitting here thinking of like, what can we do as a people? Like, I know Martin Luther King is turning over in his grave, Malcolm X turning over in his grave, because what can we do as a people? And the difference between the 1960s and Black and brown people and today is, in the 1960s, religion, whether it was the Islamic faith with Malcolm X or the Christian faith with Martin Luther King, led the charge to freedom for us. Whatever freedom looked like at that time, voting rights, things of that nature, whatever they could do, they led the charge. God led the charge for us to get the things that we have today. Isn't it funny how we needed God in 1960, 1964, but now we don't need him, or so we claim? That's what I don't understand. We don't respect leaders. No, let me start at the top first. There are a lot of leaders who lack integrity and character to be able to stand in front of a political audience with influence and to be able to get things done. Let's start there. There are a few, pastors and bishops and things of that nature who can speak in political arenas. But again, when you're speaking in these arenas, you have to have character and integrity to be able for people to have influence in these areas. There's a lack there because, again, like I said, in the 60s and leading up to the church, whether it was, like I said, Christian faith or even the Islamic faith or whatever, men led the charge. Men. That's one thing. And these are my opinions. Of course, you can disagree. Men led the charge. It seems like now we're in this new age that it's hard to find a good man that will stand up in the face of adversity to protect the women and children in the Black and brown community. Let's start there. Because I'm tired. And I mean, I love him. I appreciate him. What his name is, Al Sharpton. But a lot of people still riding on his coattail. That man is old. He's in great shape now. He's working out. He ain't got the little Don King hairstyle no more. But that man is old. Who is coming up in this next generation who can do what he's done? They still consider him Reverend Al Sharpton. They still honor him as that, but he could talk politics. Who is grooming our young men? Because we'll get to the women, but how many young men can stand on those platforms and get the attention of politicians, of the people who are begging for our votes, and stand there in integrity and get things done? I haven't seen many. And so we're at a disservice to ourselves as the Black and brown community, because who are we raising up to continue the fight? And it's unfortunate to say, but it seems like women yet have to take another baton to move things along, because who else is going to do it? So now the women are working. Single, there's a lot of single mothers, working, taking care of the kids, feeding the kids, homeschooling kids, doing all of these things, going to church, praying for the kids, doing all of these things. And yet, and still, this is another torch to get us to another place that it seems like women are going to have to do, which I think is so unfortunate, because what happened to our brothers? What happened to the men that are supposed to protect us? What happened to the men that's supposed to cover us? What happened to the men that when you walking down the street, if somebody say something wrong to you, they check them? What happened? It's not a lot of them. And I'm not saying there's none at all, because I would be lying. However, what I'm saying is that there's so many factors as to why we don't have the type of leadership we had in the 60s when it comes to Black and brown rights and what we want and how we're going to get it. Now, when somebody tell us to boycott something, like, oh, don't get on the bus. People not having that because nobody ain't walking nowhere these days. Ain't nobody walking nowhere. If they say boycott Uber, it's going to be over for people. What happened? We're just not. Oh, thank you. Reverend Rodney Hudson is making moves in Sandtown, Baltimore, Maryland, fighting for the impoverished people. Thank you, Angel. But where are they? And I say that too, as now women, I'm going to say something. You're not going to like it though. There are a lot of men who want to do this, but we don't respect them. There's a lot of men, because again, every good man needs a good woman. But a lot of us don't respect the Black and brown men. And so they're not confident enough to go out there and put themselves out there to protect us. And again, that's not always the story, but that does happen in a lot of cases when you demasculate a man, make him feel less than, and then we say, oh, by the way, go out there and fight the good fight for me. Like you cannot do that. You cannot do that. You can't say, oh, okay, I need you to pay my rent, pay my bills, do this for me, do this for my kids, and and oh, by the way, don't tell me what to do. I just don't get that. I don't understand it. So as a people, because again, this election, I hate to say it, but November 3rd is minute compared to what's about to happen in this world. Yes, you need to vote. Regardless if it's Biden or Trump, that's not my concern. What I'm going to tell you is, regardless of who wins, it's going to be lit, as the kids would say, everywhere. And I mean lit, like it's probably going to be fires and all of this other stuff and rioting and everything, because people, regardless of what side it's on, are going to be upset. So now that we know, regardless of who wins November 3rd, there's going to be unrest. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to protect our children? How are we going to protect our husbands? How are our husbands going to protect our families and all of these other things? Because again, we're sitting around waiting for somebody to give us permission to do what we know to do. So somebody got to hold your hand and tell you, like, because people are like, well, Joe Biden is this and that or whatever. But as I recall, in those times, in the 60s or whatever, and again, I'm not that old. However, I do research a lot. So, of course, if someone is on here who was really living in that time, I really would appreciate your feedback. But they didn't sit around and wait. They made demands. And if you wanted their vote, you met the demands. It's funny how, I'm telling you, if it wasn't for COVID, October would be lit with people coming to churches trying to talk to you about your vote and what they're going to do. And I know people are not going to like me, but I'm going to say this. I loved seeing a Black couple in the White House. I absolutely loved it. I loved the look of it. I loved that they was having jazz parties. I love all of that. But I personally, besides the fact that I got to see someone who looked like me in the White House, I don't have a list of things that the Democrats did for me in the 8 years that President Obama was in office. I'm talking about for me personally. I don't have a list. Doesn't mean he was a bad president or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't have a list. And I think a lot of people feel that way. That's why people are saying, I don't know if I should vote. I feel like my vote doesn't count, because in the grand scheme of things, people feel like I'm voting and I'm giving you my vote, but what is in it for me and what's happening for me? And that's the issue. And we can't just keep allowing people. And again, this is not the election for people to be saying, well, I ain't voting this time, whatever. You need to vote. But what I'm saying is we need to start thinking about how the people we put in position affect our lives. So now you guys know they putting all these laws in. I'm telling you, Social Security with this whole double tax thing, the payroll tax holiday is going to be the next thing that is up, that is going to be a mess. Because again, you're taking money out of Social Security and hoping that people pay it back. We all know anybody who's followed Social Security has been in shambles for years. So you would go touch the one thing that people need to survive. Okay, but you don't touch anything else. That's because there's a plan for that too. But we are busy not paying attention, or not even that. I wouldn't say that. I would say that we don't realize how the dots connect, or whatever. Do you know that when they get rid of this healthcare, that there's going to be people in small businesses and things of that nature that are not going to be able to go to the hospital, not going to be able to go to the doctor? People who have pre-existing conditions are not going to be able to get treatment. All because we decided not to vote. Do you know that there's going to be children who can't get a health care because we decided to not vote? Exactly. They think, sis, they're going to bankrupt Social Security. I best believe it. Then they're going to privatize it. And then guess what? Most people wouldn't even have any money when they retired if it wasn't for Social Security. Because most Black and brown people don't have the means, because we're already at a disparity, because we don't make we don't make what our counterparts make to do the same work. So a lot of people don't have IRAs or 401ks or pensions, So people already don't have that. So they're like, well, I'll just live off my Social Security. And Social Security forces you to put money away for Social Security. So what's going to happen now when there is no Social Security possibly? And again, there's no law to that yet. This is my opinion. But what will happen to us as a people if there was no longer Social Security? People are living longer. What would we do if there was no Social Security? Girl, this is my coffee. I can't let it fall. Jesus. What would we do? Another thing I wanted to talk about too, and I posted it earlier, and again, I can't take credit for it, but I'm telling you, it inspired me. I posted a post, and let me see. I should have did my share screen earlier, but y'all know sometimes I be behind the thing. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Okay, let's see if it comes up. Oh, it's blinking because my thing is not tight. My second screen is not tight. So we're blinking a little bit, so I'm going to remove it. So basically it says, if racists are kneeling on our necks in broad daylight, imagine what they're doing in HR departments, classrooms, and medical offices around the country. We know it is bigger than the police, 100. I'm going to read that again because this thing inspired me. If racists are kneeling on our necks in broad daylight, so we already know that's happening. We got the tape, we got receipts. Imagine what they're doing in HR departments. Y'all know I work in HR. Classrooms, that's teachers, and medical offices around the country. We know it is bigger than the police. That's another thing. I have to give, this was in Club magazine on June 16th this year. And I have to say, we all know, we heard the, you send your resume in for a job and because you got a ghetto name, they don't call you. Those are facts. I don't care what nobody says. Those are facts. If you got a ghetto name, there are places, depending on who the hiring managers are or recruiters, that will not call you if your name is ratchet to them. So I tell people this all the time. They laugh at me. They tell me I'm bougie. They call me white. They say, oh, you got on your white voice and all this other stuff. But let me tell you, because it is true. If you name your child Ron Kekanisha, what you call it? Best believe when that name is on top of a resume and it is next to John Brown, who's going to get called? You're right. It is not right. But guess what? It happens. It's a lot of things that happen that's not right. You see it still happening. Because it's not right does not mean it doesn't happen. That's why I tell people all the time, especially young girls, because we know there's a lot of people who are having children. Try to name your child something that nobody doesn't know what their nationality is or whatever. Now the big thing is if somebody has a Muslim name, you're a terrorist. So they're not calling you in because you're Muslim, or you're a terrorist, or you're upset, or you're from Al Qaeda. It happens. It happens. Just like in HR departments, it happens depending on where you are in this world, especially corporate America in a lot of places. And again, this is my opinion. Someone can debate me on that if they want. However, people, we already know there's no equal pay. Period. White men get top dollar. Black men, lower than that. White women, low. Black women are the lowest on the totem pole, where we make 64 cents to the dollar. Guess who negotiates those salaries? Who presents those salaries? HR. HR does. But again, we are so... the police. And I'm not saying the police not doing anything, but whoever wrote this was so insightful. The same reason why there's teachers that are suspended because they run around doing blackface, having kids act like slaves in class, all of these other things. But again, we got Betsy, whoever, I forgot her last name, DeVos, who's in charge of education. We're in a educational crisis. New York still isn't fully in school, and she is mute. But a few months ago, though, you telling everybody how people need to get to school, but you never told them how to get there. And now that all of this is happening, you're mute. We're not even going to talk about medical offices because, again, there are people who have been told they need hysterectomies and vasectomies and things of that nature. Ain't nothing wrong with them. They just don't want us having no more kids. So you rape our women, you make us have your babies, but then you sterilize us after. Ain't that something? That's America, though. But it's so true. That's why I said this is bigger than what we're seeing on TV now. It's so much bigger. And I'm not saying I'm anti anything. I'm not. It's just that look at the big picture. Again, things are happening that we're not aware of because we're not exposed to those things, but they're happening. That's the reason why, honestly, I went to get a doctorate degree, not because I wanted to, because this was never my desire. God told me to go get it. But also I realized too, as a Black woman, even with an MBA, because I have an MBA. Even with an MBA, there's so many people who have MBAs now that it's like, and I have over 20 years of HR experience, but a white man can have a bachelor's degree and make more money than me if I don't know my worth. And a lot of us think 15, 20, 50,000 a year, 60,000 a year is a lot of money, and it's not. Because they're coming out of high school who went to Yale and Harvard that's making six figures and ain't got no work experience. Why is that? Why is it that a kid could go to Columbia University and come out and already have a six-figure job? And you coming out putting out 575 resumes and can't get a call back? We gotta do something. And again, I don't know what that is. I just really don't know. But I feel like I have to use my voice to empower people to think about these things, to do something in your family, to then do something in your community, for us to then be able to impact and affect the world. Because truth be told, all we got is us, and nobody has to do anything for us. And why do we sit around and wait for somebody to hand us something when that's not even how our ancestors thought about things? Harriet Tubman ain't wait until somebody told her it was okay to leave. She packed up and left. And then she kept coming back and forth. Why is it we're waiting? Well, let's see what happens, or, let's do this and let's do that. And truth be told, a lot of us, our priorities are jacked up. I saw a post earlier. I mean, that thing had me cracking up when it said that if the cost of the PS5 is higher than your credit score number, then you need to leave it alone. I mean, that thing cracked me up. That thing had me in stitches. But it's funny. It really was funny. But it made a lot of sense. Because honestly, what gets you further in this world besides, excuse me, guys, I got something in my eye. Besides you working hard and trying to figure out the system and maneuver it yourself, is making sure that your name is clean. In America, money talks. So how to make your name clean is to have good credit, because that speaks to your integrity and your character if you pay your bills. Again, there are people, unfortunately, our bills are more than what we make. It's just life. Some people paying $2,000 for rent and stuff like that because, of course, we got to do what we got to do. I understand it. I get it. But that's why we need to have a plan as to then what we're going to do to get out of our mess and stay out and not go back in. So my suggestions, because again, I am not an expert in all of the things that are happening in this world. I've been telling people for months, because a lot of our people are in fields that require you to be face-to-face with someone, and we know we're in COVID. Healthcare, I mean, there was a whole, I'm going to be a CNA boom a couple of years ago. I'm going to be a nurse's aide boom. I'm going to be a this. I got to go work in the hospital. Now, of course, people are dying. And we're at risk because, of course, a lot of us are first responders, whether you're social workers or anything of that nature, you're working one-on-one with people. And so now, of course, we're at risk. But I have been telling people for months, and possibly the first part of the year too, even before COVID, I do a lot of research on the future of the workforce. The future of the workforce. You can Google this stuff yourself. When you look at what the future of the workforce is, it tells you what jobs are going to be gone in 10 years, 20 years. Gone. I don't care how much experience you got. Gone. Do you guys notice a lot of us live in different places? Do you know about, have you noticed like the McDonald's? Remember when they started implementing the little screens where instead of you having to go to the register, you can go to the little computer and place your order? And you like, oh, thank God, because I got tired of waiting on those long lines. Now you could just go up and press the buttons or whatever. That's somebody's job, right? Well, that was somebody's job. Same thing they doing at Starbucks. Why y'all think they computerizing everything? Oh, what about when you go to the Stop and Shop? That ain't even no real person mopping the floor. They got this robot thing going around talking about it's a spill on aisle 2. And then it goes, it mops it up. That's somebody's job. What do y'all think gonna happen? So I am telling you, yes, self-checkouts. I mean, I'm all for self-checkout because I get tired of waiting in line. However, remember that was somebody's job too. Now we got self-checkouts everywhere. And if you go to Sam's Club like I do, let me tell y'all something. Sam's Club, this is a shameless plug, but they bomb. You go into Sam's Club, you get your app up, and the app will say, "Welcome to Sam's Club." I go through Sam's Club, I scan my items, I pay for my items with my credit card that's in the app, and I walk out the door. I don't wait in a line. I don't have to talk to nobody. I don't have to ask them where anything is because I go to Sam's Club like every 2 weeks. That was somebody's job. But the convenience of that app, of course, we see it as just convenience, but that's someone's job. What do you think going to happen in the next 10 years as they continue to keep automating things? And it's great that everybody is saying, well, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that or whatever. I'm telling you, get your bag, secure the bag any way you can. But what I'm saying to you is if you only have one stream of income and your income is determined by you dealing with people, you're in trouble. If you work at McDonald's, you're in trouble. If you work at Dunkin' Donuts, and I support my Dunkin' Donuts because it's a Black-owned establishment where I go, so I support them. But best believe, thank you, automation is here. Think about it. They up here testing drones for Amazon, so drones can deliver your packages. All them little blue vans, where they gonna be in 10, 20 years when a drone can you just say and then it fly to your house and drop it on your on the stairs. But we sitting around here not realizing that these things are happening right before our eyes. Why y'all think 5G is so popular? Birds are dying, but they still implementing 5G though. Birds are dying, they falling out the sky. Because all of these things are happening. What's that car that drives itself? Tesla? I think that's what it is that drives itself. So now you don't need nobody to drive it. So I don't know. I don't know how it works because I don't have a Tesla. But can it go to the grocery store for me? Because now I don't even need Uber Eats or nothing. And I could just tell the car, go to the store and do the drop-off service or something. Just had a call regarding how automation is going to replace people and how we can mitigate the human interaction. Exactly. And again, y'all know I'm a conspiracy theorist. I believe COVID was man-made. So now we're seeing what things are affected by human interaction. So now automation can come in and say, well, you don't need human interaction for this. They talking about making nurses and people at the stations robots. But we sitting up here trying to go to school for what? If you have children who are in high school getting ready to go to college, I've been saying this to people for a while. It's great. Everybody want a business degree. You better get a business analytics degree. Look it up. Analytics, artificial intelligence. That's the wave of the future. Engineering, the wave of the future. Computers, IT, the wave of the future. Anything other? Nope. So I'm telling you this to get you to start thinking about what will you be able to do if your job no longer exists. If they decide that affirmative action is not important, if they decide that no, all Black kids go to this school, all white kids go to this school, what are you going to do? What about if now they say, oh, you're gay, you can't work here? We don't serve your kind. What are we going to do? We already don't get equal pay. So that's a whole nother thing in itself. What are we going to do? What are we going to do if everybody lose their health care? Everybody. What are we going to do? They already, during COVID, they already stealing packages and stealing stuff from people. I mean, it's already desperate times. What do you think is going to happen? People already still ain't getting unemployment money. That's a whole nother thing for another day. But what are we going to do? So that's my tidbit for today. But again, business analytics, artificial intelligence. If you ever thought about going back to school, and I'm saying this for people who are in my age bracket, 40s, 30s, 50s, whatever, this is the time for you to figure out, if I lost my job tomorrow, what can I do? Because that's the problem with a lot of us, is that we're depending on that paycheck every week or every 2 weeks, and we don't have a backup plan. We don't have a skill set that we can just jump into. Some of us been on jobs for 20, 30 years. And again, I'm not an advocate for staying on a job that long. I don't like that. I don't believe a person can really truly grow if you stay on a job that long at one place, period. You never experience a different culture. You never experience different challenges. You never get an opportunity to work with a different cultural mindset of people. There's no diversity in what you're doing. I think it's a waste. That's my opinion. I believe that you outgrow a position in 3 years. 3. If you're really working, you should outgrow your position in 3 years. 3 years. By year 3 to year 5, if you're not experiencing new challenges, it's time for you to go. Period. Time for you to go. Exactly. Data analytics is huge. That's why I went and got a doctorate degree, so I could understand and know statistics. So now I could do data analytics and predictive analytics. So that's some of the stuff that I do as well too. Because I realized as a Black woman, I can't just say I do HR and I'm so good. I have to say I'm a doctor, an earned doctor. Not only do I do HR, I do predictive analytics. I can tell you what's going to happen in 5 years if you give me the data. I'll push those numbers into you and help you make data-driven decisions. That's what I do now. I didn't just do that because I wanted to. I realized I got to be different. So when they standing me up next to John Smith, yeah, John Smith got what you call it, but Sharon got this. So if they deny me, of course, God didn't want me to be there. But the same token, I'm different than a lot of people who are in my field. And that's what you need to focus on. Getting yourself to a place where you are the value, not the job. You are. I tell people all the time, my loyalty is to me. If I'm not happy anymore somewhere, deuces. If they're not treating me the way I want to be treated, deuces. Not sitting in no abusive environment where I'm unhappy, where I'm not being challenged. I don't do that. And you shouldn't either. Some people are on jobs for 10, 15 years and they hate it. They hate going to work every day, but they don't have nothing to fall back on, or they don't have enough confidence to get something else, or they're not connected to the right people to get something else. How do you live your life that way? When we spend most of our time at jobs, and let me just put this out here too, because I have a lot of friends that's entrepreneurs, because we need to squash this too. Because a person is an entrepreneur don't mean they got it going on either. Entrepreneurship is the hardest thing to do. I mean, if you're a real entrepreneur, because, we got fake ones out here too. We got some that, we got fake ones too. When you are a true, real entrepreneur and your livelihood is determined by what you produce, that you have other people's lives in your hands because you're also possibly employing people and people are looking to you, that's a different type of weight. What are we doing? So while we're thinking about this election and we talk about the Republicans don't have any more rules and they are liars, we know this already. But the one thing they have that we don't have is strategy. And if you've ever been in the boardroom, if you've ever worked on a strategic plan, if you've ever been on a strategic planning committee, if you've ever done anything in strategic leadership, the strategy is what drives everything. So if you don't have strategy, you can't get results. And I think that's what we're lacking. We don't know what we want. We don't have a strategy, so we're not getting any results. So what is your strategy? What is your strategy? Because again, this is high level stuff. But now, what is your strategy to change your life? What is your strategy to make a difference in what you're doing? What is your strategy to make sure that if they come to you in November and say we shut down again because of COVID, that you can still maintain and do what you need to do? Because I'm going to be honest, I've had to fire a lot of people that I like. I like them, but I had to fire them. I knew they had a family, but I had to fire them. I had to let them go. I had to give them a severance. There's a lot of good people who get laid off. But then what? What are you going to do next? So those are my tidbits for night. Those are my thoughts. Because like I said, you guys, I was kind of, a little somber today because I just believe we just don't have a strategy. We don't have a strategy. We're missing it. So we have all of these demands and all of these things that we think should happen, but yet and still, you need a strategy. What are you overall trying to achieve? And then you put operational, like objectives in place to achieve the strategy. And then there's operational things you have to physically do in order to get the results you want. A lot of us have dreams, but no strategy. I want to be a business owner one day, but no strategy on how to get there. So if I haven't said anything to you tonight, just remember, you need a strategy in this hour. Whatever you're doing, you need a strategy. And you need to then put some goals and stuff in place to move forward. Because it would be such a shame if all of this is happening and you're still in the same place. In the same place. What would you do? What you do? They don't give extra unemployment money after December. What would you do if they say, because now they're saying, oh, we gonna forgive student loans or whatever. What would you do if they don't? What would you do? So I love you guys. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about next week, and I may jump on a little bit this week or whatever. I'm not sure. I am ministering at a conference this week in Stamford, Connecticut. So I'm excited about that. And I am also celebrating this weekend, Saturday, my virtual graduation party. So I'm so excited about that as well. So I have a few things going on. So I may jump on live just to kind of share that stuff with you guys as well. But I just want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Again, like, share this with your friends, share this with those who need a little motivation, because again, we can't get stuck. This isn't the time to be stuck. This isn't the time to be complacent. This isn't the time to just sit around and do nothing and wait for things to happen. If there was never a time, we have to move now. Whatever movement looks like to you, we have to move now. So again, I am Dr. C, Coach Sharon. You can follow me on all my social media at Coach Sharon, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Please go over to my YouTube and like my YouTube page. Please go over to my YouTube. That is Coach Sharon, and it says dash like Dr. C. Please go over to my YouTube page, because once I kind of get all my stuff together, there's some things specifically I'm going to be doing for the YouTube community. I'm going to be doing some classes. You guys know I'm a life coach, so I'm going to be doing a couple of things over there specifically for my YouTube family. So go over there and like it. Hi, thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I may go on live a little bit during my party this weekend. It's a virtual party. Y'all know it's COVID. I don't do that, but I'm having a virtual party this weekend. So I'm really excited about that. So my flyer is coming soon. I am doing a flyer, though. I'm excited about it because you got to make a big deal about what's happening with you. That's something I had to learn too. I didn't learn it till my 40s though. And a lot of times we try to downplay what's happening in our lives to appease other people. We don't want to seem like we bragging. We don't want to seem like we're being too extra. Celebrate you if nobody else do. So I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Again, follow me, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm all over. Coach Sharon, Dr. C, love you all. Talk to you soon. Bye.